Like a whisper in the wind, the Springfield Armory XDE was with us for a fleeting moment in time. The XDE was an extension of the XD family, whereas the E stood for external hammer. The XDE was manufactured in Croatia and was imported by Springfield Armory. The XDE came in three different barrel lengths for the 9mm, 3.3 inch, 3.8 inch, and 4.5 inch, the latter of which I decided to develop a long-term test and evaluation period. There was also the XDE 3.3 single-stack 45 ACP handgun, of which I passed on. Although short-lived, the design of the XDE made its way into airsoft and pellet pistols, and was also picked up on and embellished by Langdon Tactical. It's the Range Ronin here, and let me tell you all about the Springfield Armory XDE 4.5 inch 9mm. You would not have liked this pistol if you fell in with the hammers and safeties are evil crowd. It has just about everything you would hate: a mechanical safety and a decocking lever and hammer. However, if you wanted a solid concealed carry compact using a hammer that can be carried either in condition 1 or 2, then it would have been just a ticket, especially if you wanted one that is easy to manipulate. Either way, it was accurate, reliable, and soft shooting, which is a rare combination in a concealed carry pistol this size, and that is a good thing. At the time, the XDE, except for the 1911 base series of pistols, was the only pistol with an external hammer offered by Springfield Armory. When one is considering the purchase of a pistol in a different configuration, there is some obvious trepidation. Hopefully, useful idiots like me will feed you enough information to guide you in your decision. So, and to start with, the Springfield XDE 4.5 and 9mm was and still is an excellent pistol. Now, and because I own several Springfield products, doesn't mean that I cannot provide an objective viewpoint of this pistol. I bring to you the good, the bad, and the ugly, at my expense. Where the Springfield XDE 4.5 and 9mm fits in your scheme of things to carry or use as a home defensive pistol, I leave strictly up to you. A DASA pistol is an excellent choice, if it fits your needs. I have several, and they serve me well. So, let's talk a bit about the Springfield XDE 4.5 and 9mm in particular. But before I do, let me roll out the specifications. First, let me assure everyone that the XDE is safe to present with no live ammunition loaded or present. I am installing several A-Zoom snap caps to use throughout the presentation. That, among other things, prevents the firing pin from unnecessarily battering the firing pin roll pin, which prevents the firing pin from over travel. The XDE is a single-sack polymer frame semi-automatic pistol. It is also a double-action, single-action pistol that offers 3 modes of carry due to its hammer, safety, and trigger arrangement. The gun can be carried with the hammer decocked, double-action mode, and the safety flipped up, engaged, for what some would consider the maximum safety level. Before the gun can fire, the safety must be disengaged, and a double-action trigger pressed all the way through a heavy trigger stroke distance that is just over an inch in length, with a smooth, consistent 11-pound trigger pull throughout the arc of travel. After the first shot is fired, the pistol will be in single-action mode. Single-action trigger stroke is only half an inch, with about 3/4 of the travel being a light take-up before braking at 4 pounds 14.4 ounces of trigger pull, at least with my pistol. The next option is to carry with the hammer decocked and the thumb safety disengaged, counting on the weight of the double-action trigger to guard against an unintentional discharge. Now the only action required to fire is to press the heavier trigger, much like a double-action revolver. The third method of carry is cocked and locked, or condition 1, just like a 1911. The hammer is cocked and the safety engaged. This sets the trigger in the lighter, shorter single-action mode. No matter which method you choose, the pistol design will prevent it from firing if dropped. With the popular emphasis being on striker-fired pistols at the time, it was refreshing to see someone was still thinking about us folks that are partial to hammer-fired pistols. Unfortunately, Springfield Armory didn't think about us for too long. The slide, as is common with the XD series of pistols, is stylized almost to the point of being too busy, in my humble opinion. Well-cut serrations are present front and rear for retracting the slide that, by the way, is easily operated. A pop-up indicator at the rear of the chamber provides a means to determine that a cartridge is chambered. Front fiber sight is, of course, complemented with a 2-dot rear sight that is drift adjustable for windage, as is the front sight. Springfield Armory markings adorn the slide in their usual positions. The top, the Springfield Armory cross cannons, left, XDE 9 4.5, and right, serial number behind the ejection port, XDE and Springfield Armory USA. I would like to note about the slide styling. On both sides of the slide there is a line, a border if you will, that extends from the rear serrations to almost the front of the dust cover, where it takes a turn downward into the frame to a matching line that pairs up quite nicely. While it does add a busy look to the slide, it is also visually appealing. At the rear of the slide, on both sides, you will see a red dot. That red dot is a safety lever indicator. When the red dot is visible, the pistol is ready to fire. Moving the safety lever decocker upward until the red dot is covered places the pistol in a safe condition. Note that the safety lever decocker can be placed in a safe position regardless of the position of the hammer. If the hammer is cocked, the pistol is placed in condition 1. If the hammer is down, the safety lever decocker covers the red dot, and the pistol cannot be fired. If the hammer is down and the red dot is exposed, the pistol is ready to fire in double-action mode. Decocking the hammer is disconcerting at first. With the Sig Sauer decocking lever, the hammer falls at a rate determined by the decocking lever. If you slowly lower the decocking lever, the hammer will slowly lower. Not so with the XDE. The hammer falls heavily when the decocking lever is pressed to the decocking position, but is blocked from contacting the firing pin. The decocking lever was stiff when new and required 2 thumbs to activate. Activating also meant changing my grip on the pistol. For my hand, the safety decocking lever and the slide lock could have been swapped. I found that if I supported the slide with my left hand, pointed pistol in a safe direction, and then used the thumb and trigger finger of the right hand to press down or pull down the decocking lever, the decocking process became easier. Still, this is not a preferred method, as it requires too much handling of the pistol to perform. As the decocking lever had broken in after numerous times of using it to decock the hammer, it slowly became a one-thumb operating decocker. With that said, I will continue to use the time-honored method of pointing the pistol in a safe direction, grasping the hammer with the fingers and thumb of my support hand, and then controlling the descent of the hammer to the hammer block as I pull and release the trigger. This is not an uncommon method to use for those who run a 1911 pistol, or for those who simply distrust decockers. The XDE 4.5 9mm feels slide heavy to me without a magazine installed. A full magazine, however, balances the pistol out a bit, but it is still a tad slide heavy. It should be obvious that most of the pistol's weight is with the slide assembly. Both magazines, 8-round with pinky hanger and 9-round with extender, provide some bottom gripping real estate. Both magazines accomplish the same thing, but in different ways. Not mentioned by Springfield Armory is the pistol's second strike capability when in double action mode. If a primer fails to ignite, the trigger can be pulled again, assuming that the pistol is not out of battery. If the primer then ignites and a projectile is sent down range, the pistol is set to single action mode. If the primer still does not ignite, the slide needs to be cycled to chamber another cartridge, whereas the pistol would be placed in single action mode. However, the user should also be aware of a couple of conditions: duds and hangfires.
A dud, a misfire or failure to fire, occurs when the trigger is pulled but the primer or powder in the cartridge malfunctions, causing the firearm not to discharge. Dud rounds can still be dangerous and should be deactivated and disposed of properly. A hangfire, also called a delayed discharge, is an unexpected delay between the triggering of a firearm and the ignition of the propellant. Whenever a firearm fails to fire, but has not clearly malfunctioned, a hangfire should be suspected. When this occurs, the correct procedure is to keep the firearm pointed downrange or in a safe direction for 30 to 60 seconds, then remove and safely discard the round, which is now a dud as explained previously, if the primer was struck, otherwise the gun itself may have malfunctioned. The reason for this is that a round functioning outside of the firearm, or in the firearm with the action open, and out of battery discharge, could cause a serious fragmentation hazard.
According to Springfield Armory, the design features a low-effort slide that requires 27% less effort to cycle the slide when compared to leading striker-fired pistols in its category. The slide on this pistol is quite easy to manipulate. The extractor is, of course, external, and it does a fine job of pulling spent cases from the chamber. The frame is nicely done and textured in all the right places. Grip zone labeling was removed from the 4.5-inch model, and the grip area texturing is aggressive enough to provide a firm gripping surface without being abusive to the hand, for most people. I, however, find the texture to be a tad on the light side and like a bit more aggressive texturing. The grip width is 1 inch as compared to the XDS grip at 0.975 inch and a typical 1911 grip width at 1.270 inch. The grip circumference is on the thin side, but for me, there is an answer. The Hogue Springfield Armory XDE 9mm 45 ACP, Handall, Beaver Till, Grip Sleeve, Black SKU 17310. The Hogue Handall Grip Sleeve provides a better gripping surface than textured polymer, which I find the feel of polymer to be slippery in my hand, and the grip sleeve mitigates that. A palm swell presses the grip right into the palm of the hand. The grip sleeve also adds bulk to the small finger groove of the pistol's grip, which helps my middle finger to slide right up under the undercut of the trigger guard, and which allows all fingers to be on the grip. Using the 9-round magazine does not add an appreciable amount of real estate to the grip area. The Hogue Handall Grip Sleeve enhances the grip, and the ameliorated recoil is always welcomed in these hands. Installation took less than 5 minutes, using some window cleaner inside the sleeve and massaging the grip sleeve onto the grip of the pistol. No heat was applied, as the grip had been sitting in the mailbox for over an hour in 95-degree heat. There is a thumb groove on both sides of the frame, and just below that thumb groove is an ambidextrous magazine release button. I find it very easy to use the thumb or trigger finger of the shooting hand to release magazines. It is just the pistol's ergonomics at work. Like most XD series pistols, the bore axis is high, but that does not seem to affect the performance of this little guy. Well, I can't say little, really. With a 4.5-inch barrel, the XDE would be in the Commander class of 1911 pistols, and the 9+1 magazine capacity with extension follows my Commander assessment. Both magazines supplied with the XDE 4.5 worked fine. Magazines are not inexpensive, however. Through GunMagWarehouse.com, Springfield Armory XDE 9mm 8-round flush fit magazine with finger extension, shown on the left, will cost $35.99, while the Springfield Armory XDE 9mm 9-round factory magazine with extension sleeve, shown on the right, will deplete $32.99 per magazine from your bank account. The 8-round version is a good default carry magazine, and I will order a couple of 9-round magazines for spares. Personally, I like the pinky rest, as it gives my little finger a pulling point when removing the pistol from the holster. If you don't care for the pinky rest, a flat, flush base plate is provided with the pistol, a do-it-yourself change, or you can purchase the Springfield Armory XDE 9mm 8-round flush fit magazine for $27.99 through GunMagWarehouse.com. Note that I have no affiliation with GunMagWarehouse.com. They are just a resource. It is, in my opinion, that the default capacity should have been 9+1 without the extension, as is common for a 9mm pistol of this size, had the capacity been thought through thoroughly by Springfield. Although carrying a pistol with the 8-round magazine will suffice in most cases, most users will carry the pistol with the 9-round magazine, because there is little difference in height between the two provided magazines. The grip angle is close to that of the 1911 pistol, and has a nice beaver tail that helps you get your hand as high on the backstrap as possible. Obviously, the rear of the XDE is quite a departure from that of other XD series pistols that are striker fired. The cocking indicator is the exposed hammer. There is no grip safety, as one is not needed with the safety decocking feature, and there is no trigger safety internal to the trigger. Simply keep your finger off of the trigger until you are ready to shoot. And, speaking of ready, I am ready to present the maintenance of the XDE. After performing a safety check that consists of removing the magazine, locking the slide back, and inspecting the chamber and magazine well to ensure that the pistol is totally safe to perform maintenance, takedown is straightforward and does not require pulling the trigger or using special tools to remove the slide from the frame. Once again, ensure that the pistol is unloaded and safe. Retract the slide to the rear and secure it with the slide lock lever. Push the takedown lever up. Slowly remove the slide from the frame. Remove the captive guide rod and recoil spring assembly from the rear of the slide. Remove the barrel from the slide from the rear. Several lubrication points are identified and lubrication actions are recommended. Use any quality firearm lubricant, 1 drop of lubricant on each side of the rail slide railways. 1 drop of lubricant on the chamber area of the barrel. 1 drop of lubricant on the top of the muzzle of the barrel, 1/4 inch from the front top of the muzzle and inside wall of slide. After proper lubrication, assemble the XDE. Insert the barrel into the slide. Install the guide rod and recoil spring, ensuring that the guide rod is properly centered. Install the slide onto the frame, pushing it to the rear, just past the takedown lever. Move the takedown lever down to lock in the slide. Cycle the slide several times to ensure proper operation. Now, let's perform a function test. The XDE is equipped with ambidextrous thumb safety decocking levers that act as both a manual safety and as a hammer decocker. The lever operates in 3 positions. Double action, hammer down. When the lever is pressed upward, manual safety is engaged and the pistol will not fire if the trigger is pressed. When the lever is horizontal, the pistol is in the firing mode and will fire if the trigger is pressed. Single action, hammer cocked. When the lever is pressed upward, manual safety is engaged and the pistol will not fire if the trigger is pressed. When the hammer is cocked and the lever is pressed downward past the horizontal position, the hammer will rapidly fall to the lowered position and rest on the safety sear without firing. From this condition, the pistol can be fired in double action mode. Note that, as I previously mentioned, the rapid fall of the hammer is a normal function when the decock lever is pressed downward. Okay, I think that I have covered most everything up to this point and can now head to the range, put the XDE through a function and accuracy test. Regardless of a pistol's size or how great it looks or feels in the hand, it all comes down to how it performs. Setting a silhouette target some 7 yards away, the test for function was begun, with a secondary test for accuracy and the ability of the pistol to be true to my POA, given the ammunition being used, which was Remington 124 grain FMJ. Regardless of how much you handle a firearm before you actually shoot it, whether it be dry firing, finding the correct gripping position, practicing magazine changes, etc., you really don't learn anything about the gun until you actually fire it. For example, how effective are the sights? You might find the sights too small for your liking, or not bright enough under dim lighting. The sights on the XDE seem to be a good size for my old eyes. The 2 white dot rear sight stands out well, while the red fiber front sight helps guide the eyes forward to the target and do transfer light well enough under normal lighting conditions. The sights do seem to be well regulated, at least for the distances I would be shooting. According to Springfield Armory,
users may use a point-of-aim sight picture at 25 yards. This means that at 25 yards, the bullet should impact the target at the point visible at the top of the front sight. Springfield Incorporated firearms are regulated to shoot point-of-aim, point-of-impact. Changing brand or type of ammunition may alter point-of-impact as well as user's technique.
Since I am shooting 124 grain FMJ, standard ammunition for the 9mm pistol, it would seem that my shooting technique would be the determining factor on how well I shoot the XDE, and not the gun itself. The trigger is highly curved and seems to trap the finger right in the trigger shoe, which is rounded and smooth. While in single action mode, trigger finger seems to follow a straight back path of travel. Double action mode, however, there is a tendency to the trigger finger to pull down on the trigger as the trigger is pulled rearward. Because of the long double action trigger pull, this tendency is common, as the same thing can be found with double action revolvers. A smooth, continuous rearward trigger pull is essential. The safety decocker is very stiff when moving into the decocking position. The contour of the safety decocking lever seems to have enough real estate at first glance. However, the thinness of the grip and the compact nature of the pistol does not make it easy to work the lever, at least for me. Once the hammer is decocked, the safety decocking lever automatically returns to the fire position. Because of the spring tension decocking lever, I did not have to concentrate on taking the safety out of safe mode in condition 1 carry, so that I did not inadvertently move it into the decocking position. The safety lever moves in and out of the safe position very easy after some operation. The hammer, of course, can be cocked at any time, and there is plenty of hammer to do so with its roiled and serrated spur. Even with a decocking system, placing the hammer in double action mode can be accomplished in the time-honored and proven method of grasping the hammer with the left thumb and forefinger for right-hand shooters, then pulling and releasing the trigger while slowly lowering the hammer to the double action mode position. You will feel the trigger reset in double action mode. The hammer falls into the decock notch and operates from that point in double action mode. Now, let's pick up on this range session and see how well the XDE and I are doing. A pistol like the XDE is an excellent carry, and a CUDA holster from Simply Rugged Holsters is an excellent carry holster. The CUDA holster shown is for the XDM 4.5 in multiple calibers. Just so happens that it works with the XDE as well. In trying to keep the one holster, one pistol mentality going, I once again turned to Felco holsters to provide me with the A112 Hawk holster that is for the XDM 9mm 4.5, because one for the XDE in 4.5 was not available at the time of this writing, and dimension-wise, they are about the same. The width of the XDE is 1 inch at the controls, and the XDM 9mm in 4.5 is 1.1 inches. And with the leather holster that needs a break-in, it means that the Felco A112 Hawk will work perfectly for the XDE 4.5. Note that a sweat guard is not part of this holster. As with a 1911 that has a thumb safety, the sweat guard of the Felco A112 Hawk for the XDE also has no sweat guard that could interfere with the safe operation. Not having a sweat guard may rub some people the wrong way, or should I say that the grip of the gun would rub some people the wrong way. But not having a sweat shield is my preference, and a t-shirt protects my precious self from grip rub. That said, I am comfortable carrying the XDE in DA or Condition 1 modes, with the former being the preferred method. I would have no qualms carrying the XDE 4.5 9mm for personal protection, and did carry it for a short period of time until something else caught my attention. And since the XDE is no longer in production, it is tucked away in the safe with my other Springfield Armory pistols no longer in production. Now, let's get to my final words. The XDE was like an odd duck compared to the many striker-fired pistols already in a saturated market. The reason that I purchased the Springfield Armory XDE was because it was an odd duck, a pistol that had been said to be a hammer-fired Glock G48. But the Springfield Armory XDE stands on its own merits, and I have an affinity for hammer-fired pistols. Between you and I, the Glock G48 and the 6-hour P225A1 feel much better in my hand. That's a topic for a different discussion. Springfield Armory XDE was a pistol for those who liked something different, but also needed a reliable and accurate pistol for self-protection. For the MSRP of $542, the asking price at the time, the Armory XDE was an affordable but excellent pistol that, like many, had a few quirks to work through. For comparison, the HK USP V1 carried a MSRP of $999, while the 6-hour P225 listed out at $1,032. Well, my friends, I believe that I have come to the end of this chapter in the Range Ronin Chronicles. I thank you for sticking with me, and I hope that you enjoyed the journey. Hopefully, I will see you again for other reviews. Until that time, be vigilant, be armed, and be safe out there.